Just a little lovin' early in the morning beats a cup of coffee for starting out the day. Just a little lovin' when the world is yawning makes you wake up feeling good things are coming your way. Hi everybody, welcome to Sunday with Ally for December 9th, 2012, and good things are coming our way. And it's actually early in the morning. It's only 8:45 East Coast time, so I decided to get an early start on the day, get the Sunday with Ally broadcast up and going, and get it on the internet as quickly as possible, because last week, of course, went up pretty late because I waited until after I saw the guilt trip. But the Barbra Streisand Videocast for this week is packed with exciting news and fun stuff. And oh my goodness, folks, we have such good stuff to be talking about. Let's start with, we're only, I think, 10 days away from the guilt trip opening nationally in America. Now, as I told you last week, went to see the movie. I'm not going to give away any spoilers this week, so everybody can listen and not have to worry that I'm going to tell them anything in the movie, except to say that I enjoyed it quite a bit. Those thumbs are up. And I don't think I'm spoiling anything by saying that her and Seth Rogen have amazing chemistry in this movie. And I think you can see that in all of these promotions for the film, not just their joint interviews, which they did on Entertainment Tonight, and the one they did in Entertainment Weekly, the one they did in the New York Times, have all demonstrated what wonderful interaction they have. And they seem like they've become good friends, which I think is true. And but it comes across as, this sort of back and forth banter that's very funny, because they're very funny people. In the past week, they've done something very, very original, I think, and very creative in the guilt trip promotion. We've seen the 60-second commercials. We've seen a series of commercials that are called, like, let's see, one was called Family Trip, or business. One was called Family Trip, which is all about how Andy decides to invite his mother on the trip. Another one was called, I don't know what it was called, but it was the one where Barbara goes into the wrong car with the snacks. There's been like those 60-second or even 30-second ads that are just from the movie. One thing to note about that, a lot of those ads are showing little snippets, little clips that are not in the movie. So when you see the film, you're going to want to go back and watch those clips, because you're going to see scenes that were dropped from the final cut but are in all this promotion. But what they did this week, which I thought was so innovative, was they had Seth and Barbara probably doing I told you they were doing the electronic press kit, and they were doing interviews last Monday and Tuesday. And what they did is they filmed them probably on a green screen or a blue screen, as if they were sitting in the car as Joyce and Andy. And they had them do these like little improvisations in character, but not dressed in costume. So Barbara looks like she looks now, with her longer hair and not wearing Joyce's glasses and not dressed as Joyce. And Seth basically looks pretty much like Andy anyway. But they're doing these little riffs in the car, which are hilarious. I'm going to tell you a couple of them because you may not have seen them. One, they're driving in the car, and as Joyce, Barbara is telling Seth, as Andy, about friends of theirs that have just, something has happened to them. And he goes, well, what happened? What did you want to tell me? And she goes, they bought a car. And he goes, what? That's what you had to tell me? And she goes, yeah, I think they bought a Camry. And he goes, this is the big news you had for me, that they bought a Camry? And she goes, yeah, I think it was a Camry. It might have been something else. And it's just a little 30-second blackout, but it's adorable. Then there was another one where Barbara's driving as Joyce, and he's in the passenger seat as Andy, And they talk about turning on the radio and listening to some music. And Joyce says, "Oh, I like that Rihanna." And he goes, "You mean Rihanna?" And she goes, "Oh yeah, that's it, Rihanna." And he goes, "I'm very surprised that you like her music." And Joyce says, "Well, she's been through so much." That was another little blackout. Then there's one where they are sitting on a couch, and Seth is talking about, it's called Legend, and Seth talks about, "Hi, I'm Seth Rogen, and this lady needs no introduction. She's the legend, Barbra Streisand." And Barbara goes, "Legend? You make me sound like I'm 100 years old." Then they proceed to do this little back and forth where he says, "Oh, you've won, 2 Oscars, 6 Grammys." Barbara goes, 10 Grammys, a garage full of Emmys. And Barbara's like, yeah. And then she goes, "Well, you've done very well, too. You did that movie, The Coconut Express." And he goes, "Pineapple Express." And she goes, "And the other one about having a baby?" Knocked up. And then she goes, "And what was that movie? Which is the movie where you showed your thing?" And he goes, "That was Jason Segel." Okay, I don't do these as well as Barbara and Seth. Go to YouTube, find the Paramount Pictures channel, and you will find most of these little clips are there. They're wonderful. They give you a real sense of the joyfulness and the spontaneity in the film, and they're definitely going to whet your appetite to see this movie. Now, in other big news, in doing this promotion for the Guilt Trip, Barbara was asked about Gypsy. Very interesting stuff, folks. First of all, let's start with the thing about the age. Entertainment Weekly asked her about, other people have said that she's, not the right age to play the character of Mama Rose. And Barbara responded, "What's age got to do with it?" And the implication being, I'm an actress. I don't necessarily look my age. Some people, can look their age. I'm not necessarily one of them. She also made a veiled reference to the movie The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, where they made a 30-year-old man look like he was 60, or a 60-year-old man look like he was 30, whatever. The point is, Barbara does not see age as an impediment to doing Gypsy, and she was quite determined that that is going to be her next film. Furthermore, in the Joel Stein Time magazine column, which I was a little disappointed with because I thought it was sort of a throwaway kind of, my little afternoon with Barbara, which wasn't very illuminating. The one really good thing that came out of that was Barbara, again, made reference to Lady Gaga, and this time talking about her appearing in the movie as Gypsy Rose Lee, Mama Rose's daughter, who goes from being a kind of adolescent tomboy and then becomes transformed into this sexy, gorgeous stripper, Gypsy Rose Lee. From what I understand, all of that is not just publicity talk. Barbara does know Gaga, who actually goes by her real name Stephanie, and would like to have her, in the picture. And it's looking more and more that way. Now, Barbara also even made a few veiled references to the fact that there's one rights issue that's holding up the production starting, which could explain why things have been moving so slowly. So all of you people who've been hacking me all year, like, when are they going to make the announcement? When are they going to make the announcement? Well, now we know the reason they haven't made the announcement is because there is one little technical issue that they're trying to work out. I have no doubt they're going to work it out. It's probably just a financial issue or a negotiations thing with rights. It could be a myriad of minor little, of some minor little detail that has to be addressed. Maybe somebody has to have approval for the final script. I know that they've been looking over Julian Fellowes' script, they've liked it, but maybe there's somebody else that has to have their stamp of approval put on that before they can move forward. I know that they've been looking over Julian Fellowes' script, they've liked it, but maybe there's somebody else that has to have their stamp of approval put on that before they can move forward. I do think that Barbra made, excuse me folks, Barbra made some reference to possibly directing, but I think that was from an Italian article that misunderstood what she was saying. Yes, she does want to get back to directing, as she told Savannah Guthrie on the Today Show. By the way, you can find the Today Show interview on the Today Show website, NBC Today Show website. Anyway, she did tell Savannah Guthrie that she definitely wants to get back to directing. She wants to go behind the camera. She wants to work with actors. She wants to tell stories. I think she's really thinking much more about doing that with Skinny and Cat. I think the folks in the Italian paper La Repubblica misunderstood what she was saying, or it could have been a mistranslation. It's possible that she could direct Gypsy. Actually, it's not possible. It is. She could direct it. She certainly is capable, but I don't think she wants to. And I think she really wants to concentrate on the performance, especially since I'm getting the distinct impression, and I hope I'm wrong, but I may not be wrong. I think that might be Barbra's last movie. You know, the way she was talking on the Today Show, it sounded to me a little bit like she really wants to use the years she has left to do some other things, and directing is something that she feels she hasn't done enough of. We know she's definitely going to be doing more singing. We know she loves acting, but you know what? She was hilarious. I mean, you know, this past week, a lot of noise has been made about the fact that Barbra demanded that Guilt Trip be filmed near her house in Malibu. That they rented a warehouse and they built the studio set there, and they shot the entire thing just, you know, 45 minutes from her home, so she wouldn't have to travel very far. Barbra herself has said in Entertainment Weekly that she made impossible star demands, and they met every one of them. They were glad to, you know, cooperate and do it the way she wanted to do it. Now, if Barbra had made, you know, ridiculous star demands that were economically impossible, they would not have done it. You know, if she said, I wanted, you know, a golden car to drive in, make it, you know, 24 karat gold, they would have said, thank you, Barbra, but no. What she asked for was within the parameters of normal filmmaking. If you found out, for example, that, you know, I'll give you an example. A movie like Castaway, which I love, directed by Robert Zemeckis with Tom Hanks and Helen Hunt, all those scenes, many of those scenes on the island, of him alone on the island, I believed were actually filmed on an island somewhere. Well, you know what, folks? A lot of that was CGI. A lot of that was all green screen, and he wasn't. He was in a studio somewhere. So does it matter if the studio is in Malibu or Burbank or Studio City or, you know, West Hollywood? Barbra is a filmmaker. She knows, for example, they didn't shoot Lowenstein's apartment in The Prince of Tides, that gorgeous, beautiful apartment with the great view of the city. They didn't shoot that in New York. That was shot in North Carolina, or South Carolina, South Carolina, in Beaufort. They had a warehouse that they reconstructed into a studio set. So when Barbra said, let's shoot the Guilt Trip in Malibu closer to her home, she knew exactly what she was talking about, and she knew how to get it done. So that to me is not a demanding diva. That to me is a smart filmmaker who knows how the game is played. And I'll tell you something, having seen the film, it looks, you can't tell. You cannot tell that it was not shot, you know, on the road. So let's dispense with the idea. But of course on Twitter, all they picked up on is Barbra Streisand demanded that nobody leave home, that everybody's shooting her Malibu backyard. Barbra demanded. Well, you know what? Exactly. It's always the same thing. If it's Mel Gibson or Tom Hanks or Robert Redford, they're not demanding. They're making a film. If it's Barbara, she's demanding diva. In fact, Savannah Guthrie asked her that if she was a diva. And Barbara shot it down and said, "No, I'm not a diva." Now, some of my friends on Facebook countered with, "Oh, come on, Barbara, own it. You are a diva." Well, you know what? If a woman is a diva, then so are many, many men. Okay? It's a very sexist term. Almost chauvinistic. Barbara has earned her stardom. She is entitled to some of the things that she requests. And I don't think she's out of line when she asks for it and when they give it to her. You don't work as hard as she's worked for as many years as she has without having some perks. And being able to do things the way that are more comfortable for you is one of the perks. And believe me, this not only just applies to show business, this applies to business in general. I mean, whether it's, parking closer to your office because you've earned a better parking space, or whether you're allowed to have flex hours on a job, whether you get more vacation time, those are all perks. You've earned them. Barbara has earned her perks. Now, a couple of things that came out in some of these stories that I think is interesting. Barbara mentioned, for example, that she was partially convinced to do the guilt trip after having read the script with Jason. She mentioned that Jason was in the hospital, he was recovering from back surgery. Now, I don't know when he hurt his back, but I think it's interesting that he had back surgery because we've always heard that Barbara's got a weak back. So, but Jason was instrumental in getting Barbara to do this movie. So now we have Jason to thank for not only the guilt trip, but enough is enough. I think he should have more influence. She also mentioned, of course, how proud she was to sing with him at, not proud for herself, but how proud she was of him that he did the concert tour with her. And what a joy that was, and maybe the best experience that she ever had on stage, which, is really sweet. I kind of got that impression anyway when I saw them together. In other news, there was of course, at the height of all this good Barbara news, she's, good 4-page spread in Entertainment Weekly, the New York Times Q&A, the Time Magazine column. She also did the Today Show. Next week she's doing Dr. Phil, and Piers Morgan is soon after that. In the height of all this wonderful publicity, Matt Drudge of the Drudge Report, who's a right-wing extremist, just like Fox News, proceeded to take a shot at Barbara. Now, what could they say, what could they do to take a shot at Barbara? Well, it turns out that where Barbara lives in Malibu, she lives on a cliff overlooking Point Dume, I think that's the name of the place, which is a private beach. It's not her beach. It's shared by her and her neighbors, including Bob Dylan is one of her neighbors. And that private beach is the responsibility of the people who live in that neighborhood to take care of it. Well, a 40,000-pound whale, dead whale, has washed up on the beach. So it is now the responsibility of those neighbors to find a way to get that whale disposed of. Even though it came from the sea, obviously it came from the Pacific, nobody dropped it there, but it's their responsibility. So Drudge, in writing about this story, ran a picture of Barbara with a headline that said, 40,000-pound whale stinking up Malibu beach. Of course, the implication being that Barbara is the 40,000-pound stinking whale. It's a cheap shot, but if you read Twitter, all the little, all the little people who despise Barbara for her politics picked up on that and decided to make fun of it. I think it's kind of juvenile and kind of deplorable that they would go to those lengths, but they're so jealous of her. I'm sorry, that's the way I see it. They're jealous of her stardom. They're jealous especially of her success. And I think they're smelling the fact, not smelling the whale, they're smelling the fact that the guilt trip is going to do very, very well. So just in case you happen to see any kind of nonsense about the whale, that's the story. Now let me just, hold on a second, let me just check my list, which I should have done before I turned on the computer, so I can tell you if I've missed anything. Let's see. Oh, in January, at the PGA Tour's 2013 Humana Challenge, which is part of the Clinton Global Initiative, Barbra's going to appear. She's not singing. Tony Bennett will be singing. Barbra will be appearing talking about the women's heart health issues. That's in Palm Springs. I don't know if anybody's going. I'm sure we'll get some coverage, and so that's a good thing. I also wanted to mention the fact that, gosh, I really did well. I remembered everything. Somebody has posted online what's called a hub page, and it analyzed all of Barbra's movies. And I'm going to go into more detail because I think I'm going to make this an Examiner story. I think I'm going to use this guy's thing and make it an Examiner story. Barbra is one of the most successful film stars of the past 50 years. Her movies have averaged $166 million in box office. Now, granted, things like Meet the Fockers and Little Fockers helped promote some of that box office, but Barbra's early films, when you adjust for inflation, Funny Girl, The Way We Were, What's Up Doc, were very, very successful movies and made a lot of money. And by comparison, she's had very, very few movies that haven't made money. So by and large, Barbra has used her stardom well. And like I said, watch for that article on theexaminer.com. I'm going to try to get it up this week. And thank you to Hub Pages for putting that together, because I think it's fascinating information. And what we could do is then put that together with how well Guilt Trip is going to do. Now, before I go, because it's at 22:38, before I go for today, I just wanted to give you an update, let you know I'm feeling very, very well. As you can see, I'm looking better, feeling healthier. I am still fighting my medical problems, my medical financial issues. As I asked you last week, if anybody can contribute or donate, would like to get the Barbra photo CD in return, or some other item that I might be able to, repay you with. I would love for you guys to go online and make a slight donation, even if it's just, $5, $4, $3, whatever. If everybody who watches this just kicked in that little amount each week, it would make a big difference for me. And I hope you don't feel that I'm stepping over bounds by asking. But as my mother used to say, if you don't ask, you don't get. And I want to be around for all of 2013 and 2014 to continue doing Sunday with Al. So go to this site, nothingsimpossible-project.blogspot.com. If you are inclined to make a donation, like I said, $2, $3, whatever, it counts. Also, I want to remind everybody, you can still get Barbra Memories, the book patch. I got a couple of orders this week. It's also up on eBay, including the Inside Barbra's Recording Sessions book, Between the Grooves. That's also available. And I am taking suggestions because I'm ready to start a new book project, folks. I'm wondering if I should do another Barbra book or do something different. Had a few ideas. Thinking about maybe doing a book about Oscar's greatest flubs and screw-ups. Possibly, I was actually thinking about maybe doing something more personal about my life and dealing with my illness. I'm not sure if that would be appealing. I certainly would try to write it in an entertaining way. I'm curious. You are my peeps. Is there something that you've always wanted me to write that you think would make a good book? I'm taking suggestions. So, oh my gosh, it's 25 minutes. 25, I can't believe I went that far. Anyway, I'm going to say goodbye now so I can get this up. Hopefully, I think I solved the sync problem. It was working well when I started. So let's hope it works out. And until next week, which will only be 4 days before the guilt trip, I will be back. This is Ally Waldman signing up for Sunday with Ally and the Barbra Streisand Videocast, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.